For more than 60 years, she has been an inspiration in the world of music, known for her fearless vocals, iconic style, and unwavering determination. But Cher has overcome obstacles that the public has no idea about behind the scenes of her glittering stage career. She has carried more than just celebrity on her shoulders, through family heartache, agonizing losses, and quiet struggles. And now, she had been quiet about her condition for a long time, but now she is finally speaking up. Not what fans were hoping for, raw, emotional, and unexpected. Come explore with us the ups and downs of her life, from the devastating health scares she endured to the present day, the unknown hardships that led to Cher's fame. We don't know Cher for her beautiful lifestyle, since she wasn't born into it. Pain, uncertainty, and continual change were her origins. From the time she came into this world as Cheryl Sarkeesian in El Centro, California in 1946, Cher had a difficult childhood. John Sarkeesian, her father, had a hard time controlling his substance abuse and gambling habits. Georgia Holt, her mother, had ancestry that was a blend of Cherokee, English, German, and Irish. However, following Cher's parents' divorce when she was a newborn, things did not improve. Her father left her at an orphanage before he left. There was a weekly slot that Georgia could only use to visit. For the remainder of their lives, they both bore the burden of that anguish. Through a window, Cher later disclosed in an interview, Jorgen was born as a half-sister to John Southall, an actor, after her mother's marriage. He changed into someone else when he drank, even though Cher stated he felt like her biological father. Even after achieving fame, the challenges persisted. Her mother's marriage to Gilbert Lepierre, a bank manager, in 1961 brought about some changes. Cher and her sister were enrolled in a private Encino school after Daddy took them in as his own. However, Cher still felt awkward there. She stood out since she was different from the other kids and didn't come from a wealthy family. She was so unique, like a movie star in that very moment, a former classmate remarked. Although Cher did well in English and French, she struggled in most of her other studies. She was later diagnosed with dyslexia. She was also different from her classmates since she wore a crop top to school and sang throughout lunch. There was never any true connection, she confessed. When I was younger, I fantasized about being famous. Not long after, her fantasy came true. I Got You, Babe, a duet with Sonny Bono, was a smashing success in 1965. The 1960s were greatly influenced by their music. Bang Bang and My Baby Shot Me Down were among Cher's first dramatic solo singles, released around the same period. Gypsies, Tramps and Thieves, Half-Breed, and Dark Lady were some of her 70s singles that catapulted her to superstardom. Life didn't suddenly become ideal, though, even after this achievement. During her career, she passed through distinct stages. Many of her later rock-influenced singles, such as If I Could Turn Back Time and the Shoop Shoop song, came out in the 80s and 90s. The dance pop album Believe, which she released when she was 52 years old, became an international hit. Along with Auto-Tune, it also exposed the world to the renowned Cher effect. That song broke the record for most sold by a female artist in the United Kingdom. Closer to the Truth, 2000, and Dancing Queen, 2010, two of her albums from the 2000s and 2010s, both started at number 3 on the US Billboard 200. However, despite Cher's famous songs and glamorous persona, her history has always followed her. An emotionally scarred, fractured household and constantly changing childhood was the foundation around which every accolade and hit was built. Cher was a multi-talented figure who went from TV idol to movie star. Her solo program Cher and the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour catapulted her to fame in the 1970s. On a weekly basis, these shows attracted over 30 million people. Everyone was captivated by her charisma, sense of humor, and impeccable style. More than just music and laughter, though, she desired. Come back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, and Jimmy Dean, her Broadway debut, shocked critics. Her acting chops were on full display in the 1982 film adaptation. Her rapid rise to stardom was marked by significant parts in films such as Silkwood and Moonstruck. She took home the Oscar for Best Actress for her performance in Moonstruck. Mask was another Oscar winner for her performance. In addition to directing If These Walls Could Talk, The Witches of Eastwick, Mermaids, Tea with Mussolini, Burlesque, and Mamma Mia, she has starred in and produced several more critically acclaimed films. Another one of these. Despite everything, she achieved a historic feat. Only Cher has ever been elected into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and won an Oscar for acting. The Kennedy Center Honors, 3 Golden Globes, the Billboard Icon Award, and a Grammy were among her other accolades. From 2002 to 2005, her farewell tour brought in $250 million, or over $400 million in today's money. This is her living proof. In 2018, a Broadway musical based on her life story, The Cher Show, premiered on Broadway. She started from nothing and accomplished everything on her own, but it's easy to lose sight of that fact in all the attention she's received. The darkness and anguish that molded Cher's life lay behind the surface of the joy and celebration. A terrible reality, destitution, and anguish. She has been more forthcoming about this in the past few years. Her mother's desire to remain with her father after becoming pregnant was revealed to Vanity Fair in 2010 by her daughter. A miscarriage was even considered by Georgia, but she ultimately decided against it. So that Georgia could work, Cher's father sent her to an orphanage when she was born. Cher corroborated the rumor on a 2024 Live with Kelly and Mark broadcast. "My dad left when I was still a baby," Cher stated in her memoir published in 2024. When she was 11 years old, she finally saw him again. Despite her mom's best efforts, it was never simple. In an interview with Vanity Fair, Cher recalled a time when she needed to fasten her school shoes by wrapping them in rubber bands. She had a lot of family moves as she was growing up. There were 8 marriages in Georgia. This meant that Cher resided in a variety of places, from low-income neighborhoods to, briefly, Beverly Hills. In retrospect, she reflected, "We might have subsisted on a can of beans or stew one week, but we did, in fact, live in Beverly Hills on occasion. My life was full of peculiarities. The ups and downs of her early years are shown by these words. She grew wealthy and renowned, but those memories from her childhood never left her. There was always a lingering emotional burden." Fans were taken aback when Cher finally opened up about her recent health problems. Following everything she had gone through, this was only another difficult chapter. Despite her legendary status, the once unattractive and untalented woman had endured years of silence and misery. Cher was still able to experience the ups and downs of life despite her celebrity. She was unaware that the name belonged to her. To change her name legally, Cher sought out a copy of her birth certificate in 1979. It was at that moment that she beheld an astonishing sight. Despite her insistence that her name be Cherilyn Sarkeesian, the newspaper incorrectly listed it as Cheryl. "Cherilyn was the name I used," she wrote in her memoir, "until the day I chose to formally change my name to simply Cher." This decision came years later. The gaffe actually occurred on her birthday in 1946. Georgia Holt gave birth at a young age after enduring a difficult and lengthy labor. A nurse stopped by while she was still in the hospital to inquire about a possible name for the baby. Considering her lack of knowledge, Georgia improvised. Cheryl was the name of Lana Turner's daughter, and she was a fan of the actress. "What about Cherilyn?" Georgia's mother, Linda, told the nurse about her. Unfortunately, just Cheryl's name appears in the official record because of the hiccup. The news broke to Cher, who immediately asked her mom, "Mom, do you know my real name?" Georgia only shrugged as she examined the paperwork. "I was in a lot of pain," she added, "and I was only a teenager. Just let me be." Years down the road, Cher formally stopped going by any of her previous names. Her birth name, Sarkeesian, as well as her stepfather's name, LaPierre, and her marital names, Bono and Almond, were all dropped. She went through with the transformation and is now officially known as Cher. The story behind the name was everything from straightforward, despite its simplicity. There were many complex feelings shared between Cher and her mother. Cher said that Georgia wasn't your typical educator in her autobiography. Life was not broken down for her children. She opted to let them observe her instead. Cher noted that hearing her reflect on her own successes and failures taught us valuable lessons about life. She could feel her mother's powerful presence. "She had such stunning good taste and beauty," Cher recalled thinking. What stunning women she and her companions were. The moment they entered the room, time stood still. Her sense of style was second to none. However, there were less glamorous times in Georgia's life. Even though she had been through a lot, she managed to raise Cher well. Georgia did her hardest to provide a better life for her daughter Cher, despite the fact that she was just a teenager when Cher was born. But Cher wasn't a mellow kid. She freely confessed that she lacked self-control and occasionally disregarded established protocols. When asked about times when she was difficult with her mother, she recounted running away with friends at the age of 11 and even hopping a train. But she was very clear that she would never be rude. According to Cher, she would never have tolerated that. Cher broke the news of Georgia's death in December 2022 when she was 96 years old with only 3 words. "We lost Mom." That was the defining moment. A girl grieving the loss of her mother lay behind the famous persona, and there was an abundance of unspoken memories, anarchy, and love behind that relationship. Her soul was crushed by her marriage. Cher met Sonny Bono, who was 27 years old, while she was only 16 years old. After meeting at a party in 1962, they became friends. He agreed when she asked if they could live together. They started out as simple housemates. However, their friendship quickly blossomed into love. In 1964, they tied the knot. They rose to prominence as one of the era's most iconic musical partnerships. In 1969, they welcomed their son, Chaz Bono, and started a successful music career. However, their love was crumbling behind the scenes. According to Cher's memoir from 2024, Sonny underwent a transformation while working on the Sonny and Cher show. She was no longer able to adore him. A lot of people worked more than they lived, she confessed. There was more. Sonny was unfaithful to her multiple times. His extramarital romance with his assistant was exposed in her memoir. It was made worse by the fact that it actually occurred. Despite the termination of their marriage, Cher's grief over her third miscarriage persisted. Devastation had already taken place. After her marriage ended, Cher was famous, but she also had emotional wounds. The affection that transformed into dread. Cher was married to another unstable man after Sonny. Gregg Allman, a rock vocalist, was involved this time. Difficulty persisted right from the start. It was obvious to her on their first date. My Cross to Bear, Gregg's memoir, detailed the events. While at a friend's house, Gregg slipped into the restroom to inject himself with heroin. He didn't wake up. Upon waking up and inquiring about their future plans, Cher informed him that she was departing, but that her departure was temporary. They tied the knot in 1975 in Sin City. Cher divorce papers were filed only 9 days after that. Even though she was expecting a child, she discovered that Gregg was still abusing narcotics. He attended treatment and rehabilitation even though he insisted he wasn't. He confided in her about his feelings of pressure to be Mr. Cher during one session. She remained with him for some time, but their relationship only became worse from there. His substance misuse was the main point of their heated disputes. Their 1976 son, Elijah Blue Allman, brought them to the realization that their marriage couldn't continue. Gregg suffered a paranoid breakdown one evening. In his mind, the backyard was a haven for armed guys. At that very second, Cher realized she had to leave. As a parent, she didn't want her child to grow up scared. In 1978, they formally divorced. Once again, her heart was broken by a love story that failed to alleviate her suffering. She was disappointed since she had anticipated for a happier ending and instead experienced additional pain. So, it was up to her to muster the courage to start over. Elijah Blue Allman has been Cher's youngest son, and their lives together have been tumultuous. She revealed Elijah's drug use to Entertainment Tonight in 2014, when he was 11 years old. The agony in his life, he said afterwards, is what drove him to drug addiction. In 2008, he managed to overcome his addiction after years of fighting it. However, she formally instituted a conservatorship for her son in 2024. In court documents, she claimed that Elijah's severe mental health and substance misuse issues rendered him unable to manage his finances or make prudent decisions. People say she was worried he was endangering his life by spending his inheritance on drugs. Additionally, it was contended that Mary Angela King, Elijah's wife, was unfit to assist him. Cher believed that drugs and mental health difficulties were part of the turmoil in their relationship. According to King, the plot thickened in 2022 when Cher allegedly paid men to abduct Elijah from a hotel room. Elijah and King secretly tied the knot in 2014 during their anniversary celebration. Cher was left out of the invitation. As Elijah said to the Daily Mail, he has never waited for anyone's permission or congratulations, so he had no intention of doing so this time either. He originally filed for a divorce in 2021, but later reconsidered. Shortly after Cher initiated the conservatorship procedure, and she later withdrew the case. Cher ultimately decided to abandon the lawsuit in September 2024. Although they resolved the matter behind closed doors, it revealed how public and terrible their family conflict had grown. Cher was a mother who put her son's safety first before she became famous. Grief, loss, and finding forgiveness all at once. Unfortunately, Cher's 2 ex-husbands have both passed away. Every setback had a profound impact on her. Skiing accident claimed Sonny Bono's life in 1998. Made a moving statement during his funeral. There was this piece in the Reader's Digest when I was little, she recalling their early years together. The most remarkable person I've ever encountered was described as that. Sonny Bono is the one, in my opinion. And no matter how long I live, or who I meet in my life, that person will always be Sonny for me. By then, they had found peace with each other. In a 2023 interview with People, Cher said that Sonny had apologized for the pain he caused during their marriage. His apology didn't erase everything, but it gave them a chance to reconnect before it was too late. Still, when asked who the true love of her life was, Cher mentioned both Robert Camilletti and Gregg Allman. So when Greg passed away in 2017 from liver cancer, Cher was crushed. On X, formerly Twitter, she wrote that she couldn't even put her sadness into words. Her message was short, but it said a lot. She used the nicknames they had for each other, Chuch and Gue Gue. Later, she posted again, saying how wonderful Greg was. These simple but powerful messages showed just how much he had meant to her. Even after the heartbreak they faced during their marriage, held on to the love they once shared. These losses reminded fans that even the biggest stars feel grief just like anyone else. Speaking of which, Cher's strength was tested again, not just emotionally, but physically. Just when it seemed like she was moving forward, her body started to send alarming signs. A hidden illness that changed everything. In 1990, something unexpected began to happen to Cher. She was doing a live performance, but she looked completely drained. After the show, she climbed into her tour bus and said, "I'm getting too old for this. I can barely move around the stage." At the time, she didn't know what was really going on with her body. But while working on the movie Mermaids, things got worse. The filming had to be paused because she was too weak to continue. That's when the reality of her illness hit her. Cher said, "I was so sick, I thought I was going to die. I went to doctor after doctor. Eventually, she was diagnosed with Epstein-Barr virus. It's a virus passed through body fluids like saliva and causes fatigue, fever, and sore throat. The infection stayed with her for years and deeply affected her career. In an interview, she was asked if acting offers had stopped. She replied, "No, I got really sick. For 2 years, I couldn't work. It was terrible. I ended the second year with pneumonia. All these movie offers were coming in, but I had to turn them all down. I was really upset about it." She opened up even more in a 2008 interview. She said she almost died from pneumonia. In a tweet from 2021, she wrote, "Had pneumonia and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't stand to take a shower." Through her posts, fans saw how the illness affected her day by day. Cher kept going, but her strength was tested like never before. To be heard and understood, Cher's health struggle didn't just drain her, it made her feel invisible. In a 1990 interview with Vanity Fair, she explained how her fatigue started back in 1986 during The Witches of Eastwick. It got even worse on the set of Mermaids. But when she went to see doctors, they didn't believe her. In a 2008 interview with USA Today, she said, "I was sick for a long time. I went to Germany for some medicine and treatment. They have things overseas we never dreamed existed. When I was first diagnosed in the late 80s, I had doctors telling me I was crazy. Many of them thought her illness was in her head, but Cher knew something was deeply wrong. After many struggles, she was finally diagnosed with Epstein-Barr virus and chronic fatigue syndrome. These conditions made her feel extremely tired and weak. She had to pause her career for 2 whole years. That break cost her big opportunities. She told the New York Times in 2018, "All these movie offers were coming in, but I had to turn them all down." Her illness didn't just take her energy, it nearly took her life. In another tweet, she said, "I had pneumonia and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't stand to take a shower." And in response to a fan, she admitted that when she first caught the illness, she didn't even know it. She was working through it, thinking it was just bronchitis. Her doctor gave her antibiotics, but she needed a different one to fight what she really had. This illness doesn't go away completely. Cher said, "You never lose it, and it really takes the life out of you." Even now, her fans worry when she shares updates about her health. Cher may be the goddess of pop, but behind the stage lights, she's been in a long, painful battle just to stay standing. And her fight has shown us how strong she really is. The painful crisis that shook Cher's family. Cher is once again going through something heartbreaking. Her son, Elijah Blue Almond, was rushed to the hospital in June 2025 after a suspected drug overdose. He was found in Joshua Tree, California, and taken to a medical center for treatment. Reports say he is now stable, but the incident has left Cher devastated. This comes just months after she decided to withdraw her legal request for a conservatorship over him. That legal move had started in 2023 when Cher said in court documents that Elijah was dealing with serious mental health and drug problems. She feared that if he got access to his money, it would go straight to drugs and possibly cost him his life. Elijah had opposed the conservatorship, saying he was sober and going to 12-step meetings. He filed documents in early 2024 claiming he was doing better. By September that year, Cher dropped the case. But now, this hospital visit is raising concerns again. Elijah's history with drugs goes back a long way. In a 2014 interview, he said he started using drugs at age 11. He talked openly about the pain he was in and how heroin felt like a way to escape. He said, "I was just looking to escape all the things in my past. Heroin kind of saved me. If I didn't have that at that point, I don't know what I would have done." He He also shared that he had some very close calls, and even when he tried to be careful, the wrong mix of drugs could have ended his life. Sadly, that cycle of drug use, recovery, and relapse has followed him for decades. Cher's concern for her son hasn't just been about drugs. It's also about his marriage. Elijah is currently going through a rough divorce from his wife, singer Marie Angela King. She has filed for $6,000 a month in support and said the marriage has broken down because of major issues. Their relationship has had many ups and downs, and the marriage was far from peaceful. At one point, King claimed that Cher sent people to take Elijah from a hotel room during their anniversary trip in 2022. Cher didn't respond publicly to that claim, but it showed how bad things had become between all of them. Elijah even filed for divorce in 2021, but changed his mind soon after Cher's conservatorship attempt began. In May 2025, he was seen outside the Chateau Marmont in Los Angeles. He looked sunburned, distressed, and confused. That sighting worried many people. Then came the news of his overdose. Cher hasn't made a public statement, but it's clear she's focused on making sure her son gets help. For Cher, this is more than just a legal issue or a public story. It's about a mother trying to save her child from a dangerous path. Cher's fear for Elijah may also come from her past with his father, Greg Allman, fighting a battle that feels all too familiar. Greg, who died in 2017 from liver cancer, had his own history with drug addiction. Cher once described the trouble they faced in their marriage, especially his substance abuse. Greg had struggled for years, and it affected their relationship deeply. Even Elijah's uncle, Dwayne Allman, died young in a motorcycle crash at age 24. After battling his own issues with drugs, addiction has left scars on their family for generations. When Cher filed for conservatorship, she was clear in her warning. She told the court that if Elijah got access to his money, he would spend it on drugs and risk his life. The case stirred public conversations about how families deal with adult children who have addictions. Many people supported Cher's efforts. Others questioned whether a conservatorship was the right move. Elijah said at the time that he had been clean since late 2023 and didn't need anyone controlling his life. But with this recent overdose, some are now wondering if more help is still needed. And Elijah's relationship has gone through many phases, some filled with distance, others with love and support. Like many parents in her shoes, Cher has faced the difficult task of watching her child struggle while trying not to lose him completely. It's a painful balance. And for someone like Cher, who has lived most of her life in the spotlight, the pressure is even greater, shining through the darkness. Even as Cher faced her son's health crisis, she continued to work and show up for her fans. In July 2025, just weeks after Elijah's overdose, she performed at a special Dolce & Gabbana event in Rome. The night was full of fashion, music, and art, and Cher took the stage looking completely transformed. She wore a platinum blonde wig with loose waves and a green jumpsuit with a black corset. Later, she changed into a black cat suit with sheer panels, showing her slim figure. For her performance, she brought back her classic black waves, switching styles with ease. She posted about it on Instagram with the caption, "A little Rome moment," and fans rushed to compliment her. One fan wrote, "As the world ages, Cher, sent to us by the gods, grows younger." The Alta Moda event praised her as a true icon, calling her performance emotional and unforgettable. Through the years, Cher has never been afraid to change her look. Back in 1985, while filming Mask, she even dyed her hair red. But it went wrong, and she had to start wearing wigs. On the Phil Donahue Show, she shared how it damaged her hair and led to one of her boldest hairstyles yet, black on the sides and blonde in the middle. At 79, Cher isn't slowing down. She told Good Morning Britain, "I just can't believe I will be 80 at some point. I will still be wearing my jeans, and I will still be wearing long hair." She added, "I'm not trying to feel young. I'm not trying to be young. I am what I am, whatever that means." Even with everything she's facing behind the scenes, continues to stay true to herself. She continues to find a way to shine, even when the world feels heavy, and her followers sense her resilience. To what extent was Cher's backstory unexpected to you? Whose problems, her health, or being a mother? Feel free to provide your opinions in the space provided. For more amazing tales from the intriguing past of Hollywood, make sure to subscribe, and press the bell icon. Thanks for watching.